When looking back at all the games that released in 2019, we can't help but think of all the amazing titles we got to experience. So when it came down to describing the best games of the year, we at MojoPlays found ourselves split across the board. But after much consideration and examining a wide variety of factors, we have to give the top spot to Sekiro. Welcome to MojoPlays, and these are the reasons why Sekito Shadows Die Twice is our 2019 Game of the Year. Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. In order to explain our reasoning, we will be going over how Sekiro stood out among the crowd. This is not to say that From Software's game is more superior than the titles we'll mention. We've loved nearly every title that came out this year. To start off, let's talk about the combat of three of our entries: The Outer Worlds, Devil May Cry 5, and Resident Evil 2. The Outer Worlds utilizes a combat system that shares striking similarities with titles like Fallout New Vegas and the Max Payne games. Players can slow down time to aim for critical hits, and a character's combat skills are determined by acquired perks and flaws.
A gunslinger. Oh, they're going to tell stories about you from here to Hephaestus.
Devil May Cry 5 was a wonderful return to DMC's frenetic action and spectacle of demon blood. Combos are just as satisfying as ever. Resident Evil 2 modernized its controls and now plays more like the later titles in the franchise. What made these three games miss the mark is familiarity. While they each employed combat systems that were fun and exciting, they are systems we've already experienced to some degree. One may be quick to say that Sekiro could fall under familiarity, but that's not entirely true. Sekiro is a minor deviation from the typical From Software combat we've come to know from the studio's previous games. You can't go in, dodge roll all over the place, and rush enemies. Sekiro demands the player to be more patient in taking down enemies, while also requiring quicker reflexes. On top of that, most of the combat encounters feel fair, and you're always able to analyze what you've done wrong and how to improve. In other words, Sekiro is far more analytical and stealthy with its combat, which we'd consider a major step up since Dark Souls and Bloodborne had areas where you can easily cheese enemies. Two games that excelled in level design were Apex Legends and Luigi's Mansion 3. Apex really planted some innovative designs for the Battle Royale formula, as traversing the land is much more fun and allows for different strategies. You can use balloons and zip lines to travel great distances in a pinch, and each location's layout requires you to adapt and improve when you're ambushed by enemies. In a way, Apex's maps are like a bunch of miniature maps you'd see in games like Call of Duty or Titanfall. However, these small areas can make combat feel a tad too overwhelming. Then we have Luigi's Mansion 3. One of the best parts about Luigi's newest ghost-busting game is that it follows more closely to the first game's design, granting players the ability to explore the hotel without having to get pulled out after completing each task. Unfortunately, the game's own level design can break pacing. For example, you'll encounter a ghostly maid in the first hour or two of the game, and you'll most likely not catch her on your first try and will have to chase her out of whatever room you found her in. Once you're in the hallway, you'll have to check other rooms until you found her. This makes the encounter more frustrating than adventurous and challenging. What makes Sekiro's level design special is how every facet of this world feels like it was there for a reason. Sure, I can try and hide in that bush, but what if I grapple to the ledge and try to stealth attack from above? Basically, Sekiro's world was built for combat and navigation, not one or the other. Plus, using the grappling hand is way too satisfying. Lastly, we have the story, and Fire Emblem Three Houses boasted an excellent deep story. There are very few games out there that have accomplished telling a story that can take significant turns and completely change things. You'll make quite a number of choices that'll steer the narrative in a direction you wouldn't expect. As if that wasn't enough, each character is brimming with unique personalities. Not everyone will seem likable at first, but they'll soon grow on you as you spend more time with them.
Let you in on something, Professor? My brother can be a bit callous.
However, one playthrough isn't enough to experience everything the game has to offer. With each house having its own side of the overall plot, you're looking at a minimum of 150 hours just to play under each house one time, and that's not counting runs where you'll want to see what happens when you choose different options. This isn't exactly a knock against the game, but not everyone can spend that massive amount of time with one game, especially with the amount of incredible games coming out these days.
Now if you'll excuse me, I'm off to take a nap.
As for Sekiro, the game does not overstay its welcome at all. Sekiro features typical cinematic moments you would see from standard AAA titles and blends it with From Software's signature environmental storytelling. Wolf's revenge-fueled journey has plenty of tense moments, ones that will be emotional, but still have that bitter taste of despair and frustration. All of this is experienced in that sweet spot of 25 to 30 hours. The games we've compared to Sekiro are by no means less valid to be called Game of the Year contenders. We made this as a more in-depth explanation for why we gave the game the top spot, and with 2019 throwing out so many amazing games, we had to really think about what every game excelled at. Submitted for your consideration, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is WatchMojo's 2019 Game of the Year. Check out these other great clips from MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.